The busy halls of Atlanta Memorial Hospital echoed with the usual sounds of a Wednesday morning. Jasmine Williams, a 28-year-old nurse practitioner, walked briskly through the corridor, her dark curly hair neatly tied back in a professional bun. She carried her tablet, reviewing the day's appointments while sipping her morning coffee. "Ms. Williams," called out Sarah, the receptionist. "Your 9:30 appointment is here early. He's in room 205. Jasmine nodded, quickly finishing her coffee before heading to the consultation room. According to her schedule, the patient was Marcus Thompson, age 32, here for his routine checkup and medication review. As she opened the door, her eyes immediately met with the warmest brown eyes she had ever seen. Marcus sat in his wheelchair, wearing a crisp blue button-down shirt and black pants. His friendly smile lit up the entire room. "Good morning, Mr. Thompson. I'm Jasmine Williams, your nurse practitioner today," she said professionally, though she couldn't help but notice how his presence filled the room with positive energy. "Please call me Marcus," he replied, his voice deep and gentle. "And it's nice to meet you, Ms. Williams. Dr. Peterson usually handles my checkups, but I was told he's on vacation." Jasmine sat down and opened his file on her tablet. "Yes, I'll be covering for Dr. Peterson this month. I see you've been coming here for regular checkups since your accident 5 years ago?" Marcus nodded, his expression remaining cheerful despite the serious topic. "Yes, the car accident changed my life, but I've learned to adapt. Being in tech helps. I can work from anywhere with just my laptop and brain." As Jasmine began the routine examination, she found herself impressed by Marcus's optimistic attitude. While many patients complained during their checkups, he made clever jokes and asked thoughtful questions about her medical observations. "So you're a software engineer?" Jasmine asked while checking his blood pressure. "Yes, I work for a company developing adaptive technology for people with disabilities," Marcus explained. "Actually, I started this work after my accident. Sometimes life's biggest challenges lead us to our true purpose." Jasmine couldn't help but smile. His words touched something deep inside her. In her 3 years at the hospital, she had never met a patient with such a profound outlook on life. The checkup continued, and they found themselves sharing stories about their work. Marcus told her about the latest software he was developing to help quadriplegics control their home environments, while Jasmine shared some of her experiences as a nurse practitioner. "Your blood pressure is perfect," Jasmine announced, "and everything else looks good too. The physical therapy is clearly working well for you." "Thank you," Marcus replied. "Though I have to admit, this has been the most enjoyable checkup I've ever had." Jasmine felt her cheeks warm slightly at his comment. There was something special about Marcus, not just his handsome face or his brilliant mind, but the way he carried himself with such dignity and grace despite his circumstances. As she finished updating his medical records, Marcus cleared his throat. "Ms. Williams." "Jasmine, if I may, would it be inappropriate to ask if you'd like to get coffee sometime? There's a great accessible cafe just down the street." Jasmine paused, surprised by the invitation. Hospital policy didn't explicitly forbid dating patients, especially since he wasn't her regular patient. Still, she hesitated. Marcus quickly added, "I completely understand if it's not professional. I just thought—" "Yes," Jasmine found herself saying before she could overthink it. "I'd like that." Marcus's face lit up with another one of his wonderful smiles. "Great. How about Saturday at 10? The cafe is called Morning Brew." They exchanged phone numbers, keeping it professional but both feeling the excitement of new possibilities. As Marcus wheeled himself out of the consultation room, Jasmine couldn't stop smiling. Later that evening, as Jasmine drove home, she thought about how life worked in mysterious ways. She had always believed that love would find her when she least expected it, but she never imagined it might begin in a routine medical checkup with a patient who would teach her that the human spirit was stronger than any physical limitation. That night, she went to sleep wondering what Saturday would bring, and for the first time in a long while, she felt the flutter of butterflies in her stomach, the kind that signaled the beginning of something special. The Morning Brew Cafe buzzed with weekend activity as Jasmine arrived 5 minutes early for her coffee date with Marcus. She had chosen a simple yellow sundress, and her natural curls framed her face. Her heart skipped a beat when she saw Marcus already waiting at a corner table, looking handsome in a green polo shirt. "You look beautiful," Marcus said as she approached, his eyes twinkling. He had carefully chosen a table that accommodated his wheelchair while still offering a nice view of the cafe's garden. They ordered their drinks, a caramel latte for Jasmine and black coffee for Marcus. The conversation flowed naturally, much like it had during their first meeting at the hospital. "So, tell me more about your family," Marcus asked, taking a sip of his coffee. "Well, I'm the youngest of three sisters. My mom is a high school teacher, and my dad owns a small bookstore," Jasmine replied. "They live just outside Atlanta. What about yours?" Marcus smiled warmly. "I'm an only child. My parents live in Chicago. They wanted me to move back after the accident, but I needed to prove I could be independent." As they talked, Jasmine noticed some people in the cafe staring at them, an interracial couple, one in a wheelchair. But Marcus seemed completely unbothered, his confidence making her feel more comfortable. "You know," Marcus said, "before my accident, I was always running around, too busy to appreciate the small things. Now, I've learned to see beauty in moments like this, sharing coffee with a beautiful woman on a sunny Saturday." Jasmine felt her cheeks warm at his words. "You have an amazing perspective on life." Their coffee date extended into lunch, and before they knew it, 3 hours had passed. As they left the cafe, Marcus suggested they take a stroll through the nearby park. The park's paved paths made it easy for Marcus to navigate his wheelchair. They passed families playing, dogs running, and elderly couples walking hand in hand. Jasmine found herself naturally falling into step beside Marcus, their conversation continuing to flow effortlessly. However, reality soon stepped in. Jasmine's phone buzzed. A message from her best friend Lisa. "Girl, where are you? Don't forget we have dinner with the family tonight." "Oh," Jasmine exclaimed, "I completely lost track of time. I have dinner with my family tonight." Marcus nodded understandingly, but before Jasmine could say goodbye, he asked, "Would you like to have dinner with me next Friday?" Jasmine smiled broadly. "I'd love to." That evening at her family dinner, Jasmine couldn't stop thinking about Marcus. However, when she mentioned him to her family, the reactions were mixed. "A disabled man?" her mother asked, concern evident in her voice. "Jasmine, honey, are you sure about this? Taking care of someone like that is a big responsibility." "Mom," Jasmine replied firmly, "Marcus doesn't need anyone to take care of him. He's independent, successful, and one of the most inspiring people I've ever met." Her oldest sister, Michelle, added her thoughts. "But what about having children? And what will people say?" Jasmine felt her temper rising. "I'm not thinking about children yet, and I don't care what people say. I like him for who he is." Her father, who had been quietly listening, finally spoke up. "Jasmine, if he makes you happy, that's what matters. Just be sure you're ready for the challenges ahead." Later that night, as Jasmine lay in bed, her phone lit up with a message from Marcus. "Thank you for a wonderful day. Can't wait to see you again." Reading his message, Jasmine realized that the barriers others saw, his disability, their different races, society's prejudices, seemed insignificant compared to the connection they shared. She had always believed that love should be based on what's in a person's heart, not their physical abilities or appearance. As she drifted off to sleep, Jasmine thought about how Marcus had wheeled confidently through the park, how his eyes lit up when he talked about his work, and how he made her laugh. She realized that sometimes the biggest barriers weren't physical ones in the environment, but the ones people built in their minds. With determination, she decided that no matter what others thought, she would follow her heart. After all, true connections were rare enough without letting others' prejudices get in the way. Over the next 3 months, Jasmine and Marcus's relationship grew stronger with each passing day. Their Friday dinner date had become a cherished weekly tradition, and they spent most weekends exploring Atlanta together, discovering places that were both romantic and accessible. On this particular Saturday afternoon, Marcus had invited Jasmine to see his workplace. The modern tech company building stood tall in downtown Atlanta, its glass walls gleaming in the sunlight. Marcus led her through the lobby, greeting security guards who clearly knew him well. "Welcome to my world," Marcus said proudly as they entered his office on the 4th floor. The space was impressive, filled with cutting-edge technology and adaptive equipment. Large monitors displayed lines of code, and prototypes of various devices sat on nearby shelves. "This is amazing," Jasmine said, looking around in awe. She noticed how everything was perfectly arranged for Marcus to access from his wheelchair. Is this where you create all your adaptive technology? Yes, Marcus smiled, wheeling over to one of the workstations. Come here, I want to show you something special. He pulled up a demonstration of his latest project, a voice-controlled system that helped quadriplegics control their entire home environment. As he explained the technology, his eyes lit up with passion, and Jasmine found herself falling even deeper in love with his brilliant mind and caring heart. You're changing people's lives, she said softly, placing her hand on his shoulder. Marcus covered her hand with his. That's all I've ever wanted to do. After my accident, I promised myself I would turn my experience into something positive. Later that evening, Marcus took Jasmine to meet his team at a nearby restaurant. They had reserved a private room, making it comfortable for everyone. His colleagues welcomed Jasmine warmly, and she could see how much they respected Marcus. During dinner, Sarah, one of Marcus's co-workers, pulled Jasmine aside. You know, he's different since he met you, she whispered. Happier. We've never seen him smile so much. Jasmine felt her heart swell. She had noticed changes in herself too. She had become more patient, more understanding, and more aware of the everyday challenges faced by people with disabilities. The following weekend, Marcus attended a family barbecue at Jasmine's parents' house. Despite her initial concerns, her family had begun to warm up to him. Her father particularly enjoyed discussing business with Marcus, impressed by his entrepreneurial spirit. As they sat in the garden after dinner, Jasmine's young niece climbed onto Marcus's lap, curious about his wheelchair. Instead of being uncomfortable, Marcus showed her how the controls worked, making her giggle as they moved around the garden together. He's wonderful with children, Jasmine's mother commented, watching the scene with softening eyes. Her earlier reservations about their relationship were clearly fading. That night, as Marcus drove them home in his specially adapted car, Jasmine realized something important. You know what? She said, I don't even see the wheelchair anymore. When I look at you, I just see Marcus, the man I'm falling in love with. Marcus pulled the car over, turning to face her with emotional eyes. Jasmine, I've been wanting to tell you, I love you. I know we come from different worlds, and I know there will be challenges, but you make everything in my life brighter. Tears welled up in Jasmine's eyes. I love you too, Marcus, and I'm not afraid of any challenges as long as we're together. They shared their first I love you kiss there in the car, under the Atlanta stars. It wasn't the most conventional romance, but it was theirs, and it was perfect in its own way. As they drove home, they talked about their future together. Marcus shared his dreams of expanding his adaptive technology company, and Jasmine talked about her hopes of opening a clinic specializing in care for people with disabilities. That night, as Jasmine lay in bed, she thought about how love had surprised her. She had always imagined falling in love would be like in the movies, but this was better. It was real, it was deep, and it was changing both of them for the better. Their love wasn't just about romance. It was about growth, understanding, and breaking down barriers. Together, they were proving that love truly knows no boundaries, whether physical, racial, or social. They were writing their own love story, one day at a time. 6 months into their relationship, Marcus had planned a special evening at the Atlanta Botanical Gardens. He had secretly arranged everything with the garden staff, ensuring all paths would be accessible and their special spot would be ready. His heart raced with anticipation, the small velvet box safely tucked in his jacket pocket. Jasmine arrived looking stunning in a blue dress, her hair elegantly styled. She noticed Marcus seemed a bit nervous, but she attributed it to the fancy dinner he had mentioned. The gardens were beautiful at twilight, with tiny lights twinkling in the trees and the sweet scent of flowers filling the air. The gardens are especially beautiful tonight, Jasmine said, walking beside Marcus as he skillfully navigated his wheelchair along the paved paths. Not as beautiful as you, Marcus replied, his voice slightly shaky. They approached a private section of the garden where a small table had been set up, surrounded by roses and soft lighting. A professional photographer, hidden behind some plants, quietly began taking pictures. Another surprise Marcus had arranged. As they reached the table, Marcus surprised Jasmine by asking her to sit on a decorative bench nearby. Jasmine, he began, his voice full of emotion, these past 6 months have been the most amazing time of my life. Before I met you, I thought my disability would always be a barrier to finding true love. He paused, taking a deep breath. "But you never saw me as disabled. You saw me as a man, as a person with dreams and hopes. You've shown me what real love looks like." Tears began forming in Jasmine's eyes as she realized what was happening. Marcus continued, his own eyes glistening. "I know some people might think our love is unusual, a black woman and a disabled white man. But I think we're proof that love doesn't care about physical abilities or skin color. It only cares about what's in our hearts." Marcus reached into his jacket pocket, revealing the velvet box. With practiced movements, he opened it to reveal a beautiful diamond ring. "I may not be able to get down on one knee, but my heart kneels before you, Jasmine Williams. Will you marry me?" Jasmine's hands flew to her mouth, tears now flowing freely. "Yes, yes, Marcus, I will marry you." Marcus's hands trembled slightly as he slipped the ring onto her finger. The hidden photographer captured the moment perfectly. Jasmine's joyful tears, Marcus's beaming smile, and the beautiful garden setting around them. Just then, their families emerged from behind nearby trees, another surprise Marcus had planned. Jasmine's parents, sisters, and Marcus's parents who had flown in from Chicago all rushed forward to congratulate them. "Welcome to the family, son," Jasmine's father said, placing a warm hand on Marcus's shoulder. Her mother was crying happy tears, hugging both of them. Marcus's parents, Tom and Linda Thompson, were equally emotional. "We've never seen our son so happy," Linda said, embracing Jasmine. "You're the daughter we've always wanted." The families had arranged a small celebration right there in the gardens. As they enjoyed champagne and cake, Jasmine couldn't stop looking at her ring and her new fiancé. Later that evening, as they sat together under the stars, Marcus shared his fears. "Sometimes I worry that I won't be able to be the husband you deserve. There are so many things I can't do." Jasmine placed her finger on his lips, stopping him. "Marcus Thompson, you are exactly the husband I deserve and want. You've shown me what true strength looks like. Your disability doesn't limit your capacity to love, to care, to make me laugh, to support my dreams." She took his hands in hers. "Besides, there are so many things you can do that others can't. You're brilliant, compassionate, and you're changing lives with your work. That's the man I fell in love with." Marcus pulled her close, kissing her softly. Around them, the garden's lights twinkled like stars, and the sweet perfume of roses filled the air. It wasn't a conventional proposal story, but it was their story, beautiful, unique, and perfect in its own way. As they left the gardens that night, both families walking with them, Jasmine and Marcus knew they were starting a new chapter in their lives. Their love story wasn't just about romance. It was about breaking barriers, challenging perceptions, and proving that true love knows no boundaries. The ring sparkled on Jasmine's finger, a symbol not just of their commitment to each other, but of their commitment to showing the world that love comes in all forms, all colors, and all abilities. The months following their engagement flew by in a whirlwind of wedding preparations. Jasmine and Marcus had decided on a spring wedding, giving them 6 months to plan everything. They wanted their wedding to be not just a celebration of their love, but also a statement about inclusivity and breaking barriers. One sunny Saturday morning, they visited their chosen venue, a beautiful modern event space in downtown Atlanta. The building had been specifically selected for its excellent accessibility features, with wide doorways, smooth floors, and elegant ramps alongside the stairs. "This is perfect," Marcus said, easily maneuvering his wheelchair around the spacious main hall. "Everyone will be comfortable here, especially my friends from the support group." Jasmine squeezed his shoulder, knowing he had invited several other people with disabilities whom he had met through his work and therapy sessions. "And look at that dance floor. Plenty of space for everyone." The wedding planner, Monica, had experience organizing accessible weddings. She walked them through various adaptations they could make to traditional wedding elements. "For the first dance, we can create a beautiful moment with both traditional dance and wheelchair dance elements," she suggested. However, Marcus had a secret he was keeping from Jasmine. For the past 3 months, he had been attending intensive physical therapy sessions, working towards a special surprise for their wedding day. Only his doctors and parents knew about this effort. The couple's families were deeply involved in the preparations. Jasmine's sisters helped with choosing the color scheme. They settled on royal blue and silver, colors that would look stunning in both the ceremony and reception spaces. One afternoon, while trying on wedding dresses with her mother and sisters, Jasmine overheard two other customers whispering and glancing her way. "Did you hear? She's marrying a man in a wheelchair," one woman said quietly. Before Jasmine could feel hurt, her mother stepped in. "Yes, she is," she said proudly, loud enough for everyone to hear. "She's marrying a brilliant, successful man who loves her completely. We couldn't be happier." The dress consultant brought out a beautiful white gown with delicate lace details. As Jasmine tried it on, tears formed in her eyes, not just because the dress was perfect, but because of her mother's words of support. Meanwhile, Marcus was having his own adventures with wedding preparation. His father helped him select a specially tailored suit that would look elegant while being practical for his wheelchair. They chose a royal blue tie to match the wedding colors. "Son," his father said during the fitting, "I've never been more proud of you. You've shown incredible strength, not just in dealing with your disability, but in following your heart." The guest list grew to include people from all walks of life. Marcus's tech colleagues, Jasmine's hospital coworkers, family members from both sides, and friends from their respective communities. They were creating a wedding that would bring together people who might never have met otherwise. One evening, as they reviewed the seating arrangements, Jasmine noticed Marcus seemed distracted. "Is everything okay?" she asked, concerned. Marcus smiled mysteriously. "Everything's perfect. I just can't wait to surprise you on our wedding day." "Surprise me? What surprise?" "You'll have to wait and see," he replied with a twinkle in his eye. The weeks leading up to the wedding were filled with final details: ordering special ramps for the stage, arranging transportation for guests with mobility issues, and ensuring every aspect of their celebration was accessible to all. Their wedding website included detailed accessibility information, and their invitations were printed in both regular and braille versions for Marcus's vision-impaired friends. Every detail was carefully considered to make sure all their guests would feel welcomed and included. The night before their final wedding rehearsal, Jasmine and Marcus sat together in their favorite spot in the park, where they often spent time during their courtship. "Are you nervous?" Jasmine asked, holding his hand. "About marrying you?" "Not at all," Marcus replied. "About my surprise for you?" "Absolutely terrified," he added with a laugh. Jasmine looked at him curiously but didn't press for details. Whatever he was planning, she knew it would be special, just like everything else about their relationship. As they sat there under the stars, both were filled with excitement for their approaching wedding day. They had planned a celebration that would not only honor their love, but also show the world that true love knows no boundaries, physical, racial, or otherwise. The morning of April 15th dawned bright and clear, perfect weather for Jasmine and Marcus's wedding day. The modern event space in downtown Atlanta buzzed with activity as decorators transformed the venue into an elegant wonderland of royal blue and silver. In the bridal suite, Jasmine sat before a mirror as her sisters worked on her hair and makeup. Her wedding dress, a beautiful creation of white lace and satin, hung nearby. Her mother watched with tears in her eyes, holding a small blue box. "Something old," her mother said, opening the box to reveal her grandmother's pearl earrings. "Your grandma would have been so proud of the woman you've become, Jasmine." Across the venue in the groom's room, Marcus was getting ready with help from his father and best man. His hands trembled slightly as he adjusted his tie, thinking about the surprise he had planned for later. "Are you sure you want to try it?" his father asked quietly, knowing about the months of secret physical therapy. Marcus nodded firmly. "I've been practicing for months. I want to give Jasmine a moment she'll never forget." The ceremony space filled with guests, a beautiful mixture of people from different backgrounds, abilities, and walks of life. The accessible seating arrangement allowed everyone to have a perfect view of the ceremony space, where both stairs and an elegant ramp led to the altar. Finally, the moment arrived. The music began to play, a beautiful instrumental version of "At Last." Marcus wheeled himself down the aisle first, looking handsome and confident in his tailored suit. He took his place at the altar, his heart pounding with anticipation. The bridesmaids and groomsmen followed, creating a lovely procession in their royal blue dresses and black suits. Then the music changed, and everyone stood as Jasmine appeared with her father. Marcus felt his breath catch in his throat. Jasmine was stunning in her wedding dress, her face glowing with happiness behind her veil. As she walked down the aisle, their eyes locked, and the rest of the world seemed to fade away. When they reached the altar, Jasmine's father placed her hand in Marcus's, whispering, "Take care of my little girl." The ceremony was beautiful in its uniqueness. The officiant spoke about love transcending all barriers, about finding strength in differences, and about the power of seeing beyond the surface to the heart of a person. "Love doesn't see limitations," the officiant said. "It sees possibilities. These two people before us today are proof that when hearts connect, nothing else matters." Jasmine and Marcus had written their own vows. Marcus went first, his voice strong and clear. "Jasmine, you saw me when others looked away. You loved me for who I am, not what I can or cannot do. I promise to love you, support your dreams, and remind you every day why you chose me." Jasmine wiped away tears as she delivered her vows. "Marcus, you taught me what true strength looks like. Your heart, your mind, and your spirit amaze me every day. I promise to be your partner in all things, to face whatever challenges come our way together, and to love you more with each passing day." They exchanged rings, a simple gold band for Marcus, and a matching band that paired perfectly with Jasmine's engagement ring. The officiant pronounced them husband and wife, and their kiss was met with enthusiastic applause from all their guests. As they turned to face their friends and family as a married couple, many of their guests were crying happy tears. Here was a love that defied expectations and broke down barriers. The photographer captured beautiful moments. Jasmine kneeling beside Marcus's wheelchair for intimate photos, their families joining them for group shots, and candid moments of pure joy and celebration. During the signing of the marriage certificate, Marcus whispered to Jasmine, "Are you ready for your surprise later?" She squeezed his hand, curious but patient. "Whatever it is, I know it will be perfect." As they prepared to head to the reception, Jasmine looked around at their gathered loved ones. Her family, his family, their friends from all walks of life, all celebrating together. She saw no judgment, no barriers, just love and acceptance. Marcus caught her eye and smiled, knowing exactly what she was thinking. They had done it. Created not just a wedding, but a statement about love's power to overcome any obstacle. Now it was time to celebrate, and Marcus could hardly wait to share his special surprise with his new wife. The wedding reception was in full swing at the beautifully decorated venue. Dinner had been served, speeches had been made, and now it was time for the moment Marcus had been preparing for months. Their first dance as husband and wife. The DJ announced, "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the newlyweds to the dance floor for their first dance." Jasmine stood up, expecting to share a wheelchair dance with Marcus as they had practiced. But Marcus squeezed her hand and whispered, "Wait, I have something to show you." The room fell silent as Marcus's father and best friend approached, standing on either side of his wheelchair. Jasmine watched, confused, as they helped position his chair near a specially placed support bar that had been discreetly installed earlier. "Honey," Marcus said, his voice trembling with emotion, "for the past 6 months, I've been working on a surprise for you. Everyone told me it might be impossible, but I wanted to give you a first dance you'd never forget." With determination in his eyes, Marcus gripped the support bar. His father and friends stood ready to assist, but this was his moment. Slowly, steadily, Marcus began to push himself up from his wheelchair. Gasps of amazement filled the room as he gradually rose to his feet. Tears streamed down Jasmine's face as she realized what was happening. Through intensive physical therapy and sheer determination, Marcus had regained enough strength in his legs to stand. It wasn't permanent or complete mobility, but for this moment, their moment, he was standing. "May I have this dance?" Marcus asked, now at eye level with his bride for the first time in their relationship. His legs trembled with effort, but his smile was triumphant. The music began to play, At Last by Etta James, as Jasmine stepped forward into his arms. With the support bar helping him balance, Marcus held his wife close as they swayed gently to the music. It wasn't the kind of dancing seen in movies, but it was their perfect moment. There wasn't a dry eye in the room. Jasmine's mother clutched her husband's hand, watching their daughter dance with the man who had worked so hard to create this magical moment. Marcus's parents beamed with pride, knowing the countless hours of therapy and determination that had led to this dance. "I can't believe you did this," Jasmine whispered, looking into her husband's eyes. "How long have you been planning this?" "Since the day I proposed," Marcus replied softly. "I wanted to stand with you, even if just for one dance." The doctors said it might never happen, but thinking of this moment kept me going through all the therapy. They swayed together for the entire psalm, Marcus supporting himself between the bar and Jasmine's embrace. When the music ended, he needed help returning to his wheelchair, but his face showed no disappointment, only joy and accomplishment. As he settled back into his chair, the room erupted in applause. Jasmine knelt beside him, kissing him deeply, not caring about her expensive dress or the hundreds of eyes watching them. "That was the most beautiful gift anyone has ever given me," she said, wiping tears from her eyes. "Not because you stood up, but because of the love and dedication it took to make it happen." Later that evening, as the reception continued, guests came to congratulate them, many sharing how moved they were by the surprise dance. Marcus's physical therapist, who had been invited to the wedding, hugged them both. "He worked so hard for this moment," she told Jasmine. 3 times a week, extra sessions, never giving up even when it seemed impossible. As the night drew to a close, Marcus and Jasmine prepared to leave for their honeymoon. In the quiet moment before their departure, Jasmine asked, "Why didn't you tell me you were doing this?" Marcus smiled, taking her hand. "Because I wasn't sure I could do it. But I wanted to try, to show you and everyone else that love gives us strength we never knew we had." They left the reception amid a shower of rose petals, their hearts full of love and their minds filled with the memory of their magical first dance. It wasn't just about standing up. It was about showing the world that with enough love, determination, and support, anything was possible. As they drove away, Jasmine rested her head on Marcus's shoulder, knowing that their love story would be told for years to come, not just as a tale of breaking barriers, but as proof that true love can inspire miracles. 1 year after their magical wedding day, Jasmine and Marcus sat in their newly renovated home, reflecting on how their lives had changed. Their house had been thoughtfully modified to be fully accessible while maintaining its modern, stylish appearance, a perfect blend of functionality and beauty, just like their relationship. Marcus's technology company had grown significantly, now employing several people with disabilities and developing even more innovative adaptive solutions. Jasmine had fulfilled her dream too, opening a specialized clinic that focused on providing healthcare services to people with disabilities, with Marcus's input helping to make it fully accessible. On this particular morning, they were preparing for a special celebration, their first wedding anniversary combined with the launch of their joint foundation, Breaking Barriers, which would help provide adaptive technology to those who couldn't afford it. "Can you believe it's been a year?" Jasmine asked, placing a cup of coffee in front of Marcus. She sat beside him, her hand resting naturally on his shoulder. Marcus smiled, thinking about all they had accomplished. After their wedding, his story of standing for their first dance had gone viral, inspiring others and drawing attention to the possibilities of combining determination with adaptive technology. "Remember how nervous everyone was about us getting married?" Marcus chuckled, taking Jasmine's hand. "Now look at us, we're changing lives together." Their families had become incredibly close over the past year. Jasmine's parents regularly hosted Sunday dinners where both families gathered, and Marcus's parents had moved to Atlanta to be closer to them. The two mothers had even started a support group for families of interracial and differently abled couples. As they prepared for their anniversary celebration, guests began arriving at their home. Among them were several couples who had reached out to them over the past year, inspired by their story. There was Michael, a deaf man who had married his hearing wife Sarah, and Rachel, who used a wheelchair, with her husband Tom. The gathering was more than just an anniversary party. It was a testament to how their love had created ripples of change in their community. Their home buzzed with conversation in both spoken word and sign language, with people of various abilities and backgrounds mingling naturally. During the party, Marcus called for everyone's attention. With Jasmine by his side, he made an announcement that brought tears to many eyes. "We have some news," he said, glancing at Jasmine with a loving smile. "Next month, we're starting the adoption process. We want to give a home to a child with disabilities who needs a family that understands both challenges and unconditional love." The room erupted in applause and congratulations. Jasmine's mother hugged them both, crying happy tears. "You two will be wonderful parents," she said. "You've already shown the world what love can overcome." Their first year of marriage hadn't been without challenges. There were still people who stared or made insensitive comments, and some days were harder than others when it came to managing Marcus's disability. But they faced everything together, their love growing stronger with each obstacle they overcame. Marcus continued his physical therapy, not with the goal of standing again like at their wedding, but to maintain his health and independence. Jasmine supported him through the tough days, just as he supported her when she faced challenges at her new clinic. As the anniversary party continued, Marcus and Jasmine slipped away to their back porch for a quiet moment together. The Atlanta sunset painted the sky in beautiful colors, reminiscent of their wedding day. "Thank you," Marcus said softly, looking up at his wife. "For what?" Jasmine asked, sitting beside him. "For showing me that love doesn't see limitations. For being my partner in everything. For helping me create a life that's better than any dream I had before my accident." Jasmine leaned down to kiss him. "Thank you for showing me what true strength looks like, and for proving that nothing is impossible when two hearts are truly connected." They sat together, watching the sunset and thinking about their future, the child they would adopt, the lives they would continue to change through their foundation, and the love that would keep growing stronger. Their story had become more than just a tale of romance. It was a beacon of hope for others, proving that love transcends all barriers. They had created a life that celebrated their differences while showing the world that true love knows no boundaries, whether physical, racial, or social. As they rejoined their guests, surrounded by family and friends who had supported their journey, Jasmine and Marcus knew that this was just the beginning of their story. They were not just living their own dream, they were helping others believe in the power of love to overcome any obstacle.